Hi, everybody. I'm Barb Stoddard. I am the statewide coordinator for the New Mainers Resource Center. I'm coming in from sunny Portland, Maine. I'm just really appreciative to have been invited today to share some of the work that we're doing and to talk more about NGen as well. So I'm going to talk about three things today. The first is understanding Maine's workforce context. We have an aging population, we have a multilingual population, and there are many workforce partners, including adult ed, doing work in this area. Then I'll spend a little time talking about the New Mainers Resource Center and who we are and what we do. And then I'm going to talk about our use of educational technology, namely NGen, which is we're using for workforce readiness and advancement for our participants. So you can go to the next slide. So let's start by understanding Maine's workforce context. This is about people and jobs and workforce development. So we have an aging population here. Maine has a significantly older population. In fact, demographically, we're the oldest population in the nation. About a quarter of our residents are over age 65, and it's the fastest growing age demographic. And maybe that's because people like to retire here, but we have a lot of older folks. The reason that our population is not declining is due to net in-migration. In terms of our job market, the Maine Department of Labor has estimated that we have an average of 75,000 job openings per year. This is between 2022 and 2030, due to the need to replace workers who change jobs, retire, or leave the workforce. The growth of our workforce has been a fraction of this number, and as a result, means we're really not on track to meet our labor needs. In August of 2025, our unemployment rate was 3.2%. That compares to the national rate of 4.3%. So we definitely have a workforce, a labor problem. As more and more people approach retirement, we need to find ways to attract and retain more workers. So one piece of the solution for our workforce has been our foreign-born population. Between 2000 and 2022, we saw our foreign-born population grow by 54% in the state. This is about 60,000 foreign-born individuals, so really 1 in every 25 Mainers. In the greater Portland and Lewiston area, foreign-born individuals make up closer to 1 in every 10 residents. Overall, this represents about 4 to 5% of our workforce. Like everywhere, our newcomers arrive with a mix of needs, from English language acquisition to higher ed and workforce training. What makes Maine, and in particular Southern Maine, unique from other states and cities is the range of backgrounds and languages as compared to many states that have higher Latino populations. I think it's pretty amazing that my kids were able to attend a high school in one of the least diverse states in the nation, where more than 55 languages were spoken by students and families in their population. So the New Mainers Resource Center is constantly looking to increase coordination and collaboration among stakeholders in support of Maine's workforce. We rely on a host of programs to support recent arrivals. There are many organizations working on this issue, ranging from state agencies, which includes our Department of Labor, Department of Economic and Community Development, the Department of Education, recently created Office of New Americans, local governments, higher ed, chambers of commerce, and a lot of community-based organizations. Of course, our adult ed programs play a significant role in serving the learning needs of many of our multilingual learners. So just a little bit of a deep dive on adult ed here. These are frequently recently arrived immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers from many countries. Adult multilingual learners in Maine enroll in adult ed for a mix of needs: English language acquisition, high school completion, and workforce credentials. In 2024, Maine had about 13,000 adult ed students, and more than half of them were multilingual learners, meaning they speak another language at home. They represented learners from over 100 countries. Our 5 biggest groups are from Somalia, Angola, Congo, Afghanistan, and Syria. The vast majority are between the ages of 25 and 59, which is a great match for our labor market needs. English learners in Maine have experienced some challenges accessing adult ed programs in recent years. This includes lengthy wait lists to get into English classes, limited resources in rural areas, and too few programs with instruction tailored to the needs of specific jobs or industries. The wait lists in Southern Maine have been really challenging. We've started to see some adult ed programs in the Portland area begin building out their own ESOL programs, so that's starting to relieve the pressure. But even today, Portland Adult Ed's ESOL program, which has about 900 students registered, has a wait list of about 800 students. So it's still significant. So what are some of the solutions? Well, the state is considering hiring some teachers centrally to offer remote classes, which would help rural areas and people with transportation needs. We're also seeing more English language support being built into adult ed programs. For instance, Portland Adult Ed offers what we call a supported CNA program. So instead of that 7-week program that many hospitals are running, this is a 24-week program, and it has a lot of language support. They run specific courses on numeracy and dosage, medical terminology, and digital literacy. And of course, a number of adult ed programs have also integrated NGen. So the Maine Department of Education has licenses that they've bought that are available to all adult ed programs in Maine. These have been used as part of curriculum in classes, and other programs here are using flipped classroom models, so there's lots of ways that it's being used. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the New Mainers Resource Center. We are a statewide workforce development program. We've been around since 2013. For the first 10 years, NMRC had an office in Portland and one staff person. In the fall of 23, the state gave us an expansion grant, which extended to 2 additional locations, which are Bangor and Lewiston. That's the blue star and the orange star. We have a total of 5 staff now, and we reopened our doors to intake in July of 24. So when you look at that map, you might think that we're not really a statewide organization. Maine is about 90% forested, and less than 1% of the population lives in northern Maine. So above that blue star or further up is mostly trees and moose. About 40% of our population lives in the greater Portland area. NMRC's goal, back one slide, yep. NMRC's goal is to reduce unemployment and underemployment of internationally trained professionals while helping Maine employers meet their needs for qualified employees. We do this by helping ITPs get jobs or job training in the US workforce in their area of expertise or a preferred field. So who are ITPs? These are skilled immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers who have a college education, generally a bachelor's degree, and they have international work experience as well. We're also working with tradespeople who have overseas work experience, despite the fact many of them only hold a high school diploma. But there's such a need in Maine due to retirement of many folks in the trades that this has been an area of focus as well. I'm often asked how we attract participants to our program, and I would say that it's not a linear process. We are all housed within adult ed programs, so we work very closely with our adult ed partners statewide, and we do a lot of work with community-based organizations, especially those supporting newcomers, so they're constantly sending us people. We are heavily engaged with state workforce programs, business hubs, so Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis Rotary, to engage employers who might be hiring, who are interested in building relationships with us for future hiring needs. We also may connect with people through schools, places of worship. Southern Maine also has newspapers geared towards immigrants and many immigrant-owned stores. So there's lots of gathering places where information can be shared. And I will say that word of mouth is really one of our strongest sources of people coming to us. So once we're connected, we complete an intake process, and we connect ITPs to employment or training based on their English language proficiency, their education, their work experience, and of course, their interests. We look for an entry level into our program at an ESOL level, high 4 or a 5, so really a high intermediate. If their English skills aren't there yet, then we usually refer them to English classes in the adult ed and in our community before they come back into our program, because we are focused on getting people into professional work. All right, next slide. Our services are free. We do very traditional employment advising and case management, all kinds of employment services, resumes, cover letters, job searches, interview prep, mock interviews, networking, opportunities to connect with employers and others in their field. Our grant funds are dedicated to paying for licensing and credential support, which is the translation and evaluation of international documents. We also pay for licensing test prep, licensing fees, and those kinds of related costs. We don't pay for classes, but we pay for kind of all the things around credentialing, with the end goal of somebody getting a credential of value and employment. All right, next slide. So these are just some sample pathways. On the upper left, I'm starting on the upper left here. So if we have ITPs with business, project management, auditing, accounting, banking backgrounds, one option would be to look at a teller training program as a way to enter the banking or finance industry. We also have developed some mentorships and job shadowing opportunities in these fields. On the upper right, we have a lot of people with healthcare background, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, dentists, all kinds of allied health professionals. Many of those licensing processes take a long time. So while they're working on that licensing, we often also engage them in something in the industry so that they can be adjacent to their field, meeting people, hearing terminology. Examples of this are medical assistant pre-apprenticeship. There's apprenticeship programs. Many of our community colleges offer farm tech programs online. Again, the CNA program I mentioned, so there's a number of places there where they can engage. The lower right is the field of education. I think everyone is familiar with the educator shortage. There are a handful of apprenticeship programs for ITPs who are educators, early childhood professionals, school administrators, for them to re-enter the field and gain certification. This has been a really exciting thing for me because this is the work that I did prior to this job, and really growing our educators, our foreign educators, into the field and getting them trained in the US education system. And then on the lower left here are ITPs who are engineers, if they've worked in construction, skilled trades, business development, project management. There's been a real push in Maine for the clean energy industry. Portland Adult Ed has 2 pre-apprenticeship programs, one for solar installation and the other for heat pump installation. And these lead to employment in the field and apprenticeship in the trades. So this slide depicts adult ed and community college examples, and we're really agnostic where we refer people. It's mostly based on our participants' needs, and then we're looking to see what's available across the state. That's a really good match for them. We also see many people who are sort of approaching career ready, but they might need additional support with conversational English or industry terminology. Many of the folks come with really strong academic English because of their educational backgrounds, but have very limited conversational skills, and they want to build that confidence prior to entering their professional role. They also may be undecided whether they want to change their profession. They're on an exploration journey, and NGen has been a really useful tool in our toolkit for all of these needs. So we're also working hard to engage employers to help create networking and employment opportunities. These are really important social networks that are often a pathway to employment. We are fortunate that Portland Adult Ed's workforce department has a lot of strong relationships because of their programs with banks and healthcare facilities, so that's been really helpful for us. We also are always looking to develop new relationships based on the areas of interest for our participants. So we spend a lot of time with schools. I'm connected with 5 different accounting firms here, healthcare, engineering, those sorts of things. Really, the biggest barrier for most of these folks are their English language skills. They really need conversational and fluency skills. And so again, having NGen and the access to that has been really, really great. Okay, next slide. All right, so in terms of leveraging NGen for workforce readiness, so I talked a little bit earlier about how adult ed is using NGen in a number of ways. For NMRC, because we don't offer classes, NGen has been a really valuable solution to offer to our participants. Because of the ESOL waitlist, and because our participants are generally looking to return to their industry of expertise, NGen is a great match, right? Some do not need the English language classes, but they need targeted language development for an industry. And NGen's business and industry courses really help with the US context and terminology. And then, of course, the live workshops they offer really build English language skills. So we onboard with checklists and cheat sheets. We offer in-person and virtual assistance. We have handouts that we have pictures to visually show how to navigate the platform. So we've created a lot of materials in addition to what NGen also offers to really help people get what they need out of the program. We also recommend certain classes based on individuals' background and their English proficiency level. And then we monitor and coach people who have licenses. For the most part, NGen is self-paced. And so a little bit of encouragement can really go a long way to help people stay engaged with the program. Next slide. These are just a couple of samples from the platform. The one on the left and the one on the center are snapshots of the platform on my laptop. So the information, as you can see, it's really clear, easy to navigate. The usage info is front and center on your landing page. It has the number of minutes and activities you've completed, the number of, that shows the courses that you're currently enrolled in. The one on the right is a snapshot from my phone. That's the mobile snapshot. And it shows the workshops that are available. These are the live workshops. You can see the number of live workshops over the course of the week. So this is Monday. This is showing, I think, Sunday to Friday. You can see the courses over the hours in the day. These 50-minute instructor-led sessions are all across the day and in the night. And so this has been a really important offering for our participants, many of whom are working, don't have the flexibility to come to a class or to join even a class, that's at a specific time. Creates so much flexibility. Okay, yep. So currently we have a pilot program that's underway with the Maine State Chamber of Commerce. They received a private grant that allowed them to purchase 125 licenses to be made available to employers for their incumbent workers for a 6-month period. We've had interest from about 40 employers across the state in a number of different industries. The program is really just getting ramped up. It's been very exciting to see how employers and workers' needs are going to be met through this program. And it's a really unique opportunity for employee engagement and advancement. From an HR perspective, it's a really exciting thing. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit with a local manufacturer who has enrolled about 15 employees, including 2 supervisors across 4 languages. I'm really enjoyed seeing the manufacturing facility and also seeing sort of this on-the-ground implementation of the program. I think Tad's going to speak a little bit more about this in his segment. Next slide. All right, a little bit of background on our grant funding. So we're currently in a 2-year grant period that's going to end a year from now. We report on both qualitative and quantitative metrics on a quarterly basis. The metrics that I'm showing on this slide are what I would call lagging metrics. It asks us to gather information on participants' perceptions of how the kind of help that they've received. So this was a survey that we conducted last February from the first 6 months of the program, where 80% of our respondents reported career advancement, just over half said that we helped them find a job, and 74% reported that they connected with their industry based on offerings that we had. Next slide. These are some of the quantitative metrics that we report on for FY25, which ended on June 30th of this year. The chart shows 4th quarter data and annual figures. You can see from the metrics that this is about getting people credentialed and licensed. You can also see that not everyone wants to return to their original field of expertise. The state is interested in knowing how many participants are engaging in workforce and different kinds of training and workforce development programs, and how the money is being spent in terms of translation and evaluation. In a side note, I also let them know how many different other activities we've supported in terms of test prep, licensing fees, and things like that.